Imagine a map of Africa in the late 1880s, a time known as the Scramble for Africa. European powers are carving up the continent, and one man, Cecil John Rhodes, has a colossal dream, a British empire stretching from Cape Town to Cairo. His eyes are fixed on the lands north of the Limpopo River, the kingdoms of the Ndebele and the Shona. This territory, he believes, holds the key to his ambition, a fabled second Rand, a goldfield to rival the massive discoveries in South Africa. This is the story of how that dream became a colonial reality, built on a foundation of ambition, manipulation, and a single, catastrophic document, the Rudd Concession. It's a story that begins not with soldiers or politicians, but with missionaries. Decades before Rhodes, a Scottish missionary named Robert Moffat travelled into the heart of southern Africa. He formed an unlikely but genuine friendship with Mzilikazi, the formidable king of the Ndebele people. This bond of trust, established between two powerful leaders from vastly different worlds, would have profound and tragic consequences for the next generation. When Mzilikazi's son, Lobengula, became king, he inherited this legacy of trust in the Moffat name. This was the opening Rhodes needed. He dispatched Robert Moffat's own son, John Smith Moffat, who was now a British official. Playing on the historical friendship, John Moffat persuaded Lobengula to sign the Moffat Treaty in February 1888. This treaty was a land grab, not yet. It was a friendship agreement, declaring Lobengula an ally of the British and promising he would make deals with other foreign powers like the Boers or the Portuguese. For Lobengula, it seemed like a smart defensive move. For Rhodes, it was the first crucial step in isolating the Ndebele king. The board was set, and the most powerful player was about to make his move. Cecil John Rhodes was a man of immense wealth and even greater ambition. Having made his fortune in the diamond mines of Kimberley, he was the Prime Minister of the Cape Colony and a fervent British imperialist. He saw the unclaimed territories of Matabeleland and Mashonaland not just as a source of potential gold, but as a vital link in his Cape to Cairo vision. To turn this vision into reality, he established a private company that would act like a government, the British South Africa Company, or BSAC. This was colonialism by corporation. Rhodes was a master of using men on the spot, agents he could send deep into the interior to do his bidding, far from the oversight of London. He knew that to get the land, he first needed a legal justification, no matter how flimsy. He needed a concession, a piece of paper signed by King Lobengula that would grant his company control. He assembled a team to get it, and their destination was Lobengula's royal kraal at Bulawayo. The stage was set for a confrontation of trust versus trickery. In September 1888, 3 men arrived at Bulawayo on behalf of Cecil Rhodes: Charles Rudd, a business partner, Rockford Maguire, a lawyer, and Francis Thompson, who was fluent in the local languages and acted as the interpreter. Their mission was simple: secure exclusive mining rights to all of Lobengula's territories. But the king was no fool. He was a shrewd leader, responsible for the safety and sovereignty of his people. He was wary of the growing number of white men seeking fortunes in his land, and had already turned away several other groups. 4 weeks, Lobengula stalled. He listened to his advisors, many of whom deeply distrusted the visitors. The negotiations dragged on, with Rudd's team applying relentless pressure. They argued that a deal with Rhodes's powerful group was the only way to keep the flood of other, less predictable prospectors at bay. To further sweeten the deal and gain the king's personal trust, Rhodes sent another key player, Dr. Leander Starr Jameson. Jameson wasn't there to negotiate, he was there as a doctor. He treated Lobengula's gout, a painful condition that had been bothering the king. This act of medical kindness created a personal connection and softened the king's resistance. Slowly, under a combination of diplomatic pressure, feigned friendship, and Jameson's charm, Lobengula began to consider their offer. On October 30th, 1888, after months of intense negotiation, King Lobengula finally put his mark, an X, on the document that would become known as the Rudd Concession. On the surface, the deal seemed substantial for the Ndebele king. In exchange for giving Rudd and his associates complete and exclusive charge over all metals and minerals situated and contained in my kingdoms, Lobengula was promised a significant payment. The package included 1,000 modern rifles, 100,000 rounds of ammunition, a steamboat to patrol the Zambezi River, or £500 if the boat could be delivered, and a monthly payment of £100. For a kingdom facing threats from neighbouring rivals and encroaching European powers, the rifles were a particularly powerful incentive. They represented a way to modernise his army and secure his kingdom's defences. It appeared to Lobengula that he was simply allowing a small group of men to dig for gold in a specific area. in exchange for wealth and military technology that would strengthen his nation. The document was signed, witnessed, and whisked away by Charles Rudd, who raced back south to present it to Rhodes. But the real meaning of the concession was hidden not in what was promised, but in what was written and what was deliberately left unsaid. The heart of the tragedy lies in the massive gap between what Lobengula was told and what the document actually said. Francis Thompson, the interpreter, verbally assured the king and his council of advisors, his *Injunas*, that no more than 10 white men would ever enter his territory to mine. They would dig a few holes, respect his laws, and then leave. This was the understanding upon which Lobengula placed his mark. However, the written text, in English, contained a devastating clause. It granted Rhodes's company the right to do all things that they may deem necessary to extract the minerals. This vague but all-encompassing phrase was a legal backdoor. It didn't mean 10 men digging a hole. It meant the power to build roads, towns, and forts, to bring in thousands of settlers, and to overthrow Lobengula's own authority in the pursuit of profit. When other missionaries and traders who were not allied with Rhodes translated the full text for Lobengula, the scale of the deception became horrifyingly clear. He was outraged. He sent envoys to London to petition Queen Victoria directly, stating he had been tricked and wanted to renounce the concession. He even had one of his own senior *Injunas*, who had supported the deal, executed for his fatal misjudgment. But it was too late. The piece of paper was already in Rhodes's hands, and he was using it to build an empire. Armed with the Rudd concession, Cecil Rhodes raced to London. He presented the document to the British government as proof of his legal claim to the territory. He argued that his British South Africa Company was the best vehicle to bring civilization and administration to the region, preventing it from falling into the hands of the Portuguese or Boers. The British government, eager to expand its empire on the cheap without direct cost to the taxpayer, was convinced. In 1889, Queen Victoria granted Rhodes's BSAC a royal charter. This charter gave the company quasi-governmental powers. It could make treaties, maintain a police force, and govern the vast area. The Rudd concession had been laundered from a dubious mining agreement into a founding document for a new colony. With the charter secured, Rhodes wasted no time. In 1890, he organized and funded the Pioneer Column, a force of about 200 settlers and 500 armed police. Guided by the famous hunter Frederick Sealis, they deliberately bypassed the Endebel heartland and trekked into the lands of the Shona people to the east. On September 12, 1890, they raised the Union Jack flag at a spot they named Fort Salisbury, now Harare. This act marked the formal beginning of white settlement and the colonization of the country that would soon be named Rhodesia, in honor of the man who had orchestrated its seizure. The Rudd concession was more than just a contract. It was the legal and moral justification for the conquest of a nation. This single document, obtained through calculated deception, directly led to the dispossession of the Endebel and Shona people of their land, their resources, and their sovereignty. The initial invasion by the Pioneer Column was followed by 2 brutal wars in the 1890s, the First and Second Matabele Wars, or *Chimurenga*, as the local people fought back against the occupation. But they were ultimately defeated by the superior firepower that the concession itself had helped to provide. The legacy of that moment in 1888 echoed for nearly a century. It created the colony of Southern Rhodesia, a state built on racial segregation and minority rule. The struggle against this colonial system defined the nation's history, culminating in a long and bitter liberation war. It wasn't until 1980, after 90 years of colonial rule, that Zimbabwe finally achieved its independence. The story of the Rudd concession serves as a powerful and painful reminder of how the course of history can be altered, and a nation's destiny stolen, with a simple cross on a piece of paper. Thank you for watching. If you found this historical analysis insightful, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.